I had the mindset that anxiety was, um, I kind of relate this to another spiritual or faithful thing, but anxiety was the enemy trying to give me spiritual warfare. So I tried not to be anxious or worry about things. If there was things in the classroom that I was behind on, I would go talk to my teachers about it. I would get their help. So when it came to the classroom, it was constantly above and beyond, not just during class time, but when you had extra hours to go in there and ask a question, I would always try to do so if I had one. If I didn't have any, then that meant I was doing it right, or at least to the best of my ability. So, classroom wise, it was just doing everything in my capabilities to ask the questions I needed to. And same correlates to the football field and on the track. I mean, track, there's not as many questions. You go and run, and you train hard. Football, though, I mean, it's as much of a mental game as it is a physical game. When it came to play designs, and how to run a defense correctly, and helping others on the team when they were a little confused with a play or a play design, and what the purpose was for it was. I would go and ask coaches, talk to them what the purpose of a play was, or what the reasoning for a drill was, or what the reasoning was for running extra in track practice, or and just kind of work through coaches together, not to put something together that they wanted to do, but that uh, myself and my teammates on the track team knew would be beneficial to our season. I do. I definitely do. I don't like to be the one who. I mean, when you understand the concept of a football play, it comes into effect how you can do your job better to benefit the play. If it's a run play, if you know where the ball's going, and if it's a run play inside, you know how you can angle your block to keep your defender from making that tackle. And if it's something that you know how long to hold the block, and then you can work your way downfield to another block. I think that was important. And when it came to passing offense, if you know what you're doing, yeah, that's great. You can run the play. You're not going to mess up. But if you know what all the rest are doing, you can put yourself in the right spot to draw their defender away, if you need to, so they can catch the ball. And it really came down to what's the best for the team. I look back on freshman year high school football. I was on the JV football team, and it tore me to shreds. I
Mm.
thought I wasn't good enough, and I just felt like a lousy football player. But I think that it did more to build my character and things like that than anything else. And just the amount of seniors who were on the varsity football team, stellar athletes who, even though they were varsity football as JV football, they were just as respectful as could be to all of us younger
Mm.
kids coming up through the program, and also just coaches, still caring enough about the JV football team that winning JV football games meant just as much to them as winning a varsity football game. So, um, I think high school football early on developed a lot of character for me. And then, of course, I got to run track with a lot of good dudes. And there's a lot who weren't necessarily meant to be track athletes, but they came out and competed and gave their all. And those dudes, they meant a lot to me and my coaching staff. And then on top of that, there's, of course, a great way to end high school, last 2 years of football. This year we battled a lot, and we gave a lot of heart out on the field. That was amazing. And last year, going to the state semifinals was awesome. It was a great team atmosphere as well. And then track this year as well was a an awesome way to end the season, with the 4x1 team, ended up getting state second place. There's a lot of hard work that went into that, a lot of extra hours, and a lot of worry. But as a team, we were able to do some Bible studies and pray through it and kind of get through the anxiety. And then the state 400, that was all 4 years of prayer from my parents and hard work with my coach and my buddy Colt, and it just came out to be a great ending. Coming into high school, it was, I mean, first, number one, I mean, you don't pass classes, you don't get on the field, and uh, you don't do well in the classroom. You're not going to get into the right schools you want to. But realistically, I just knew that if I did my best in both sides, both aspects there, that trusting in the Lord, He'd put me where He needed to in both places, whether that be a normal student or an above average student, and if whether that be a normal kid who is helping out his high school athletic teams, or a superstar who knows what it really was supposed to be. But realistically, I was just trusting that the Lord would do with me what He wanted. The United States Military Academy at West Point sent a letter to my school, and I found it in my athletic locker one day, and I opened it, and it was just a bunch of information about contacting them and stuff like that. Later on, my dad received a call from the Texas recruiter for the United States Military Academy track team, um, and he was waiting until a part where he could talk to me. And a couple weeks later, he was able to call me and talk to me officially. Later that year, this past summer, I also received a text message from a Naval Academy track coach. And so, you know, I've grown up in a family that I have great grandparents who served in the military, but none of my immediate family, neither of my parents, none of my aunts and uncles. My mom's dad was a Navy naval officer, sort of. So during Vietnam, he went to OCS school, officer training school, and so for a while, I was leaning towards the Naval Academy. Just I don't know. I just felt like I like that school more. And I have a buddy who just completed his plebe year. He's a year older than me. He graduated from Midway as a baseball player, and he decided to go up there. I knew him through a couple of mutual friends, but also through Life Group is where I really got to know him well. And so I think that played into why I wanted to go to the Naval Academy. But I ended up taking a visit to the Naval Academy. I had a Friday football game against our rival school, Valley Mills, at home, and I got home at 11:30 or so that night. And I packed my stuff, and my dad and I headed out at 3 or 4 in the morning the next morning, and we went and watched a football game at the Naval Academy, and I got to tour the campus with the coaches and a bunch of other track athletes that are already there. And I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And at that point, I was leaning towards the Naval Academy 100%. I really wanted to go there. I didn't think there was any chance I was wanting to go anywhere else. But I knew I still had to get in because the Naval Academy is very demanding on so many levels, just for acceptance. Even as a recruited athlete, they it's hard to get in. I just said a little prayer on the plane that um, I wouldn't be anxious about which decision to make, which school I wanted to go to, and that the Lord would either show me that I wanted to go to West Point or I wanted to go to the Naval Academy. And when I got to West Point, I was immediately greeted by the coaching staff, and they dropped me off with my host, who is another track athlete there. His name was Will McDonald, and he made a big impact on me. Immediately, I walked into his dorm room. He was just really, really kind guy, and he was reading his Bible. And I walked down the hall, and he introduced me to one of his buddies, who is another sophomore there, who is very involved in a program called the Navigators. I kind of like to say it's the Army's version of FCA. FCA being Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and the Navigators program being what I would like to refer to as Fellowship of Christian Army Men. And so he and I probably had a 3 hour conversation about the Lord and why he was there. And I left that weekend trip at the military academy thinking, I'm just going to keep praying. And it just seemed that all doors were pointing to the U.S. military academy. Not necessarily really for athletic reasons, more just for that. That's where the Lord wanted me to go and do work for him. And it's a great school. And realistically, I feel that I felt a part of it, even though I'm not even there yet. I just felt like that was where the Lord was pointing me. I try to keep pride to a minimum and my ego deflated. I try to keep it low. I don't like to get a big head. Because if I do, then it would probably push people away and bring me off as cocky, and I I don't want to be that way. I want to be as kind and nice to people as I can. And also in the Bible, it's sinful to be very prideful. So I wouldn't say I'm very prideful about it. I'm just excited to represent my school, represent a community that shaped me, and represent all my coaches and friends, but also a man who uh, had to resign during my sophomore year of high school. His name is Coach Abel. He was a United States Marine. He graduated from Crawford. I don't remember when he graduated. I don't think I ever asked that, but he was a coach. So he graduated from Crawford and he went and enlisted in the Marines, and he was in Marine infantry for a while. And then he came back and started coaching at Crawford, but he was still a Army National Guard reserve, and there was border issues, and so he was needed at the border, so he had to resign. But he made a big impact on me as a man, and I think that it was a big inspiration for me to want to be in the military. As of right now, I want to do mechanical engineering. Um, we'll see if that changes. I know that is said to be one of the hardest courses there. And so it goes through a bunch of like aerospace engineering and aerospace physics for how a helicopter works, stuff like that. But as of right now, I'm leaning towards mechanical engineering. And then if that doesn't work out, and I need to switch, I'd probably go to the business side of things. But mechanical engineering is where I'm leaning right now. I'm excited for track season next year. I really am. I think that a Division 1 track program will develop me a whole lot. I think I can run quite a bit faster in the quarter mile next year, and hopefully maybe run the 200. I'm also excited for the upcoming Beast, which is basically the basic training. It's a 6 week program. As soon as I get there, it's gonna be really, really physically draining and mentally draining. It's gonna be really hard, but I like to challenge myself when it comes to physical things and mental things. Um, and I'm looking forward to making new friends, really.